going to cover section 1.1, Getting Started. After studying this section, you will be able to recognize points, recognize line segments, recognize rays, recognize angles, and recognize triangles. The first thing we will look at is points. So points represent a place in space and have no size. They are represented by a dot, and we use capital letters to name points. So in my diagram to the right, you can see that I have 5 points with 5 different letters. So each one is represented by a dot and a capital letter. So these points would be named point A, point B, point C, point D, and point E. Next up is lines. So lines are made up of points and are straight. Remember, a straight angle adds up to 180 degrees. Arrows indicate lines extend infinitely in both directions. So when I have a line, I know that it will go on forever. It will never stop. It will never end. Now I can name lines many different ways. Notice my first line is called line M. I can name my lines with either the small lowercase letter or with points that are on the line. So my middle line has points B, C, and D. Now I need 2 points in order to name a line. So I could name this line, line BD. Now I name with my points as well as with a little drawing of a line above my 2 points. I could also name this line, line BC, or I could even name this line, line CD. Now I could also reverse these as well. So I could name it line DB, line CB, and line DC. So there are many different ways to name a line. Now my third line, I could name this line L, or I could say this is line EF, or line FE. So that's how we name lines. We can either name lines with the small cursive letter or with 2 points that are on the line with a line above those 2 points. Next up, I have line segments. So segments are made up of points and are straight. A segment, however, has a definitive beginning and end. Unlike a line that extends infinitely, I know a segment has 2 endpoints. I name segments based off of those 2 endpoints. So if I look at my diagram to the left, I have line segment RS. I would name this line segment RS with a line segment above the 2 points RS. I could also reverse this and call this line segment SR. Now my middle diagram, I have points PX and XQ. Notice PX make a line segment, so I could name this line segment PX or XP. And then XQ make another line segment. I could name this XQ or QX. Now I have a number line in my third diagram. Notice I could have many different line segments in this number line based off of the endpoints. So if I were to say I wanted endpoints of 0 and 3, that line segment would be CF. Or it could be FC. If I wanted to say I want endpoints of -2 and 1, that would be line segment AD. So line segments I name in terms of the 2 endpoints. Next up is rays. So rays, like lines and segments, are made up of points and are straight. But a ray differs from a line and a segment in that it begins at an endpoint and then extends infinitely far in only one direction. When we name a ray, we use the endpoint first so that it is clear where the ray begins. So if I'm looking at my diagram to the left, I have ray AB. Notice that A extends infinitely in the direction of B, so A would be first, B would be second. Then I draw a little ray on top. This ray should always go to the right. My middle diagram, I have ray CD or ray CE. So I could name this CD or CE, because when I name a ray, it just has to have the first point as the endpoint, and then any point afterwards can be on that ray. My third figure, I have ray YX, because again, that ray's endpoint is Y goes in the direction of X. Now we have angles. So 2 rays that have the same endpoint form an angle. The endpoint is called the vertex, and the sides are the rays. An angle is named with 3 points where the middle point is the vertex. We can also name an angle by a number. So if I look at my left diagram, I would call this angle 3. Notice how I have a little angle symbol in front of my number or my points. My middle diagram, I have points B, A, C that form an angle, so I can call this angle BAC. I could also call this angle CAB, or I could call this angle A. My next diagram, I would have angle D. And now my third diagram, let's say I wanted to name angle 1. Now, if I want to name angle 1, we're talking about this angle here. Notice I could name this angle many different ways. So I could name this angle 1. I could also name this angle POY or angle YOP. I cannot name this angle O, however, because I cannot name an angle if it's going to cause confusion. If I were to call angle 1 angle O, that could also refer to angle POR or angle POX or even angle YOX. So I cannot name an angle if it is going to cause confusion. Now we have triangles. So triangle has 3 segments as its sides and 3 angles. Triangles are named by its vertices. So my figure to the right, I would have triangle ABC. Notice how I have a little triangle in front of my points. Now, when I talk about union, the triangle is a union of the 3 segments. So segment AB, union, segment BC, union, segment AC is equal to my entire triangle ABC. So when I talk about union, you can think of the combination or kind of like the addition of what I'm looking for. So notice when I highlight each segment, it creates the entire triangle. Now, the intersection of the 3 segments are the vertices of the triangle. So segment AB intersect segment BC would be point B. Because when I highlight here segment AB and then I highlight segment BC, notice how the overlap is point B. So when I think of intersection, think of overlap or kind of like subtraction. Looking at some sample problems, I have a diagram to the right and I want to answer these questions. So the first question asks, how many lines are shown? Notice that I have 2 lines in this diagram. If I were to name these lines, I could name one line, line AC, and the other line, line DE. There are many different ways that I could name these 2 lines. These are just the 2 ways that I have chosen. C, where do line AC and line DE intersect? So remember when we talked about intersection, we're looking for the overlap. So if I was to draw line AC and draw line DE, notice that they overlap or intersect at point B. So point B is the intersection of line AC and line DE. Now D asks, where does ray AC intersect line BC? So again, if I draw in ray AC and then draw in line BC, notice the overlap, that would be ray AC. So ray AC is the intersection of ray AC and line BC. And then E, what is the union of ray BA and ray BD? So again, if I draw in ray BA and ray BD, I'm looking for the combination of these 2 rays. So the combination would be angle ABD. Notice that I cannot name this angle B because if I named it angle B, that could refer to 4 different angles. Looking at problem 2, I have named the ray that has endpoints A and goes in the direction of C. So remember, rays we name with the endpoint first and then any other point on the line. So I could name this ray AB or ray AC. Now I want to name the segment joining A and B. So remember, segments have definitive endpoints. I name segments with their endpoints. So I would call this segment AB. Problem 3. Draw a diagram in which the intersection of ray AB with ray CA is line AC. So I'll start with ray AB. Now I want the intersection to be line segment AC. So if I were to draw ray CA going to the left with point C, that would not give me line segment AC. So in order to have line segment AC, I need to have ray CA starting in the middle of A or B, or somewhere in between. So if I put point C here and then go off to the left, notice my intersection where these two rays will intersect would be line segment AC. In this lesson we learned we name lines by any 2 points on the line. We name segments by their endpoints. We name rays starting with their endpoint and any other point on the ray. We name angles by the angle's 3 points or by a number. We name triangles by their vertices. We think of union as the combination of objects, and we think of intersection as the overlap of objects. That's a wrap on this video. We'll see you in the next one.